Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who is very excited to potentially pick against the Ravens this week. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I need a bounce back. It was a rough week 2 for me, so let's let's get some W's here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, Kyle, you had a tough week. There's no denying that. You missed 6 of your 8 picks, including your lock of the week. It was a tough one.
Yeah, it was a bummer. You know what? You live and you learn. A couple of these, like I had the Browns, who just completely fell apart at the end of that game against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I had the what was it? I had of course, the Raiders as my lock. I felt pretty good about
Uh-huh.
until like Kyler Murray took over. So I'm just looking at a couple of those, and definitely some I can learn from, but I definitely need to had a few that I felt like I could have won and didn't in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had the Ravens, which I was feeling great about, and that didn't go well either. I mean, I think everyone had if everyone made picks last week, you had at least one or two that you felt confident about until the very end of the game.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So as always, what we're going to do here is we are going to start the show. We're talking about the Monday Night Football games, and then we'll get into the Pick'em show. We had 2 Monday Night Football games, which was fun. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
doing great.
How are things?
Yeah, everything is groovy right now. Just been hanging out and working hard and studying it up so I get these picks right. So, but yeah, everything's good. Monday night was not so good. I got to say that.
Yeah, Monday we've had better weeks. Which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the let's go chronologically. Let's go with the Bills Titans. So the Titans just dead.
That's what I'm concerned about. It looks dead. They have no explosive plays. We went through this. They can't create big plays in their passing game. Turns out having AJ Brown's really important. They don't have AJ Brown. Um, I mean, like I can't fault the defense that much because the Bills offense has been torching everyone. It seems like if you go back to the end of last year through the playoffs to now, the Bills offense has basically torched everyone. So I don't know if I can hate the defense that much. That being said, man, this offense needs a lot of work, and I don't know how it gets better.
Yeah, I'm kind of I mean I don't know. I think I'm with you. I don't know how it gets better either. The thing is like okay, the Ryan Tannehill stat line is not great. The 11 for 20, 117 yards and 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. But like also Ryan Tannehill was good week 1 and it wasn't able to get done that time either. So part of me, I think some Titans fans are going to say, listen, the Bills are just going to do this to everybody, which may be true. If that's the case, we could be in for a very boring season. But there's something to me that feels like, this Titans team, I think, like you said, the loss of A.J. Brown, they just haven't really been able to replace it. They've gotten guys who've kind of been able to fill the role a little bit, but they haven't been able to replace it.
Yeah, and I think this team's worse than last year, but I think, the conversations for this team started last season where they were the 1 seed and then everyone was kind of like, I don't know about the ones if this is the best team in the AFC. And everyone who's a Titans fan was arguing, well, we earned the 1 seed, we're this team, we're going to be good. They lose in the playoffs, and then I don't know, I just I watched this game and said these two teams are not in the same class. And I don't think they're close to the same class. I don't even think AJ Brown makes a difference in this game. Like it's just two completely different teams in different scenarios.
The flip side, are the Bills going to just do this to everybody?
It's beginning to seem that way. Josh Allen is a man on a mission. Having Stephon Diggs has also helped him too, who is PFF's number 1 wide receiver through the first 2 weeks, so that also helps. I mean, this offense is incredible. I mean, even like I still didn't really love the running game, even though James Cook ended up churning out a decent day. But they can just throw on everyone, and it's like, okay, we'll just put in a new offensive coordinator, and everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, Josh Allen is just playing at such a high level right now. We've always kind of said when he's at his best, there's no one better than him, and it seems like he's just that guy. I guess the question is this going to cool off? Part of me, I have a completely irrational take, but part of my thought process is like, isn't this just, of course, going to cool off because like that's how football works? Is like,
Yeah.
once you start getting this hot, I almost feel like they're doing too good. Like they're using all their points now.
Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's potential. I mean, the cliche line is that you don't win the Super Bowl in September, And that's very much the case for the Buffalo Bills. Like, this is a good start. This looks like a fantastic football team. I think if everybody were to make a Super Bowl pick right now, the Bills would be the overwhelming favorite based on the first 2 weeks of the games. But the Super Bowl isn't one in September. And I think one of the things, like, this team, guys are incredibly healthy in September. It's not a guarantee that everyone's going to be incredibly healthy by the end of the season. This team looks fantastic now. Let's see how it develops. And, there are teams that are still chasing that I think have a lot of talent and a lot of upside too. So it's not a for sure thing, but I mean, it's hard to pick against them right now. They're the best team in football right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that they're the one seed in the power rankings probably. Let's just go to the other Monday night game because we have a lot to get to. Because we have to preview this. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with? To me, the quarterback sort of stories here. Do you want to start with Cousins or do you want to start with Hurts?
Let's start with Cousins. This is the thing is like we defend Kirk Cousins on here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are, defenders of Kirk Cousins. Not that Kirk Cousins is like a top 5 quarterback. I don't think anyone's ever said that, but we've always argued that Kirk Cousins is good and he's been valuable. This is no longer just like a blip in the radar when this guy has like Monday Night Football games and stinks. Like, this is like a growing trend that he is not. I mean, 4.8 yards per attempt for a guy we actually regard as one of the top 12 quarterbacks in the league. Like, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. He's just throwing the ball to Darius Slay in this game, and with the weapons he has, I mean, this is an unacceptable performance from a guy we have higher standards for.
Yeah, listen, the Eagles defense played very well. And that's kind of one of the interesting stories is like the James Bradbury addition has seemingly, it felt like a high risk, high reward type move of either could work out really well or not work out at all. It's worked out really well. He's been very good through 2 weeks and Darius Slay's been very good through 2 weeks. So that's been a sort of a great story and part of why the Eagles have looked so good through 2 weeks. But it doesn't mean you can just keep throwing to them. Like, you have to do other things. You can't just keep throwing the ball up to the other team. You have to at a certain point do that stuff. Cousins, he's sort of considered an elite game manager type player, but he did not manage the game here. And they had a chance in this one. I mean, this was not as great as Jalen Hurts played and as great as the Eagles offense played. They didn't score a single point in the second half. Like, Minnesota had their chances, and it was really Cousins' fault that they weren't able to take advantage.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a blowout. This wasn't a rout by any means. So they definitely had their chances. They didn't take advantage. I think we did overlook this. I think we did overrate this Vikings team a little bit after the first week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sold on this secondary. I thought looking back in that Packers game, there were opportunities. Even the first play of the game, there was an opportunity. But I think their secondary got torn up a little bit in this game. Which brings us to Jalen Hurts, who, similar to Tua the day before, everyone's doing the victory lap for Jalen Hurts today, or was Monday night. He was fantastic in this game. He did everything he needed to do. He picked apart this defense, and I thought he looked like the guy that Philadelphia is eventually going to have to decide if they're going to invest in after next season.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts was great. I mean, Jalen Hurts showed why the Eagles moved off of Wentz and kept Hurts, because he was fantastic. And he did all the throws were okay. Some of them, okay, there's a blown coverage here. Like, the throwing was still good though. He hit every throw that he could hit. But then it was the rushing ability that's just always such an asset to his game, the way that he can move and the way that he can pick up those yards. That's a legitimate part of his game. And, he had over 10 yards per attempt, and he had over 10 yards per rushing attempt, or actually just under 10 yards per rushing. Or no, excuse me, I'm way off. 5.2 yards per rushing attempt. But still, he had some very good runs in there. Math, clearly not my strong suit. But, the reality is when you have one quarterback who's going over 10 yards per attempt and one quarterback going under 5 yards per attempt, it's probably going to be a difference maker.
Yeah, you could probably guess who's going to win that one. This Eagles team looked good. And, we gave our flowers to Buffalo just a second ago. Where do we put this Eagles team on the spectrum now? Do we put this team as a potential Super Bowl contender out of the NFC?
It's hard. Again, they beat the Lions by 3 points, who maybe they're better than we realized. And then you also have, I think we maybe need a little bit more time because they played two teams that we don't really know what they are in the Lions and Vikings. So it's hard, but as of right now, they're certainly playing like one. Also, another super chat by the great Overlap 618 coming up tonight on the Overlap show. How does the Mike Evans suspension affect the TB versus Green Bay? Can the Finns upset the Bills? Why are the Rams only a 3.5 favorite over the Cardinals? This and more on tonight's show. Yes, that is the teaser for the show. Thank you, Overlap, for paying us to give a teaser for our show.
Yeah, I didn't realize we changed it to the Overlap show. That's interesting.
Listen, I mean, might as well be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we could. Full on name change.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on Vikings Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, answering my own question, I want to see a little more from this Eagles team because I think, one of the things I've said it on Jalen Hurts a few times. How's he going to go up against a defense that can man up his receivers? I think that's the big thing. Because he hasn't really seen that yet with these two secondaries. He's taken advantage though, and he has every opportunity. And maybe AJ Brown is the difference that's going to make him look great.
Yeah, I think that's because that's kind of another thing too. Is like how often have we seen a Russian quarterback like Hurts have a great a couple of really good receivers? Like that's also a new thing, which is exciting.
Yeah. I mean these guys. I mean Smith to start this game seemed like he was open on almost every play too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. It's good stuff for Philadelphia. Let's hope it continues. All right. So Kyle, as we mentioned, you are not doing so good. You have a 5-point deficit to overcome, so you will be giving me the first game.
All right, giving you the first game. I'm not deterred here. I'm going to bounce back and make this comeback eventually by the end of the season. I'm going to start you off with the Cowboys at Giants on Monday night.
Wow, Cowboys at Giants. One thing I have to say is I've never seen so many close lines throughout a week. I mean, all of these that are within one score, and most of them are within 4.5 points. So all but just 3 of them are within 4.5 points. So a lot of good games. I can see why you'd go anywhere. And yeah, I get this one because, again, what are the Cowboys? Really, what are the Giants? I don't know. This is a very difficult one to get my finger on. So I totally understand giving me this game because it feels like the Cowboys should be the better football team. But without Dak Prescott, are they? I think I'm going to agree with the people in the desert here. I think I'm going to pick the New York Giants to win this football game.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption, especially, if this Giants defense might be good. I have a stat I'm going to share with you a little bit later, but it also is, positive for the Giants as well. And I think their secondary might just be pretty good. And not to mention, they've been a pretty good secondary without Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau helping them out on the defensive line. So they've had virtually no pass rush, and also their secondary has been pretty good. So if they get those pass rushers back this week, it could be a big day for that defense. The thing is, I don't trust either of these quarterbacks. There's a couple games at the top of my list, and it's just like I don't trust either quarterback. It's hard to, make a pick that way because there could be a lot of turnovers and variance. The one thing I am worried about, Daniel Jones, he's been sacked 8 times through the first 2 games. I just said last week, I think Micah Parsons is on the tier of Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Aaron Donald as far as a defensive lineman. There's a chance that the Cowboys defensive line just wrecks this team, right? Like they just dominate this game. And I don't think the Giants really have the receivers to get open in this game either.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I could easily see you almost maybe talking me out of my original prediction a little bit because I definitely see it. It's interesting with the Giants. Andrew Thomas is currently the highest graded tackle according to Pro Football Focus. What a rebound that guy has had from being considered a bust after his first year to being one of the best tackles in football. Evan Neal, currently the second lowest graded tackle among eligible tackles through 2 games. It's 2 games. I felt like, I sort of felt like he was a raw prospect that would take some time. But if Myles Garrett lines up on him, which I'm assuming Garrett will.
Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons, excuse me. Micah Parsons lines up on Neal, which I'm assuming he will. Give him some help. You better not leave Evan Neal. One snap with Evan Neal on Parsons 1-on-1 is one too many.
Well, yeah, there's just no excuse for him to be 1-on-1. The tough thing with Parsons is that they can move him around the line of scrimmage. We see some defensive ends who are, right-sided defensive ends. That's where they play. He's a guy who can line up on the right, line up on the left, get after both sides of the tackle, depending on where you want to put him and where you think you could take advantage of an offensive line. So I think he should be able to pick his spots in this game to take shots and get after Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think so as well. One other interesting thing about Parsons, we're making this mostly Parsons-centric, but I mean, that makes sense. He's
amazing.
Probably only 2, I believe he only had 2 off-ball linebacker snaps last week. It looks like the Cowboys are kind of doing what I think a lot of fans felt like they should do, of just let him be an edge rusher.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense. He's hyper efficient at the edge rusher position. He's hyper efficient at getting at the quarterback. And not to mention, like, the Cowboys have good linebackers. Like, they don't necessarily need him to play linebacker. They have good guys to play that position.
Right.
So I think that they're kind of set where, they had this void in their spot basically because Randy Gregory left. You had a guy who's already probably better than Randy Gregory and your own team playing a different position. Just put him there and make it work.
On the flip side, if Cooper Rush wins this game, are we starting the quarterback controversy? Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott.
uh, there will be people who will say it. I think they're lunatics, but there will be
Skip
people who
Bayless
say
said it before he even played a game.
I'm not surprised Skip Bayless would say something like that. So, I mean, who does Skip Bayless like? I mean, he likes Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
That's basically it. That's all I know.
Yeah,
And Michael Jordan. To the
right.
point that he takes pictures in his shoes all the time.
I think he
Anyway.
loves Baker Mayfield as well. For some reason, he got thrown in there.
All right. There should not be a controversy in Dallas. Cooper Rush could have easily had 3 picks last week, and he didn't. And the Cowboys won the game, but that doesn't mean Cooper Rush is on the verge of starting for this team.
Yeah, probably not. I don't think so. Want to move on?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you, it's a pick 'em. I don't want to pick it. I'm giving it to you. 49ers, Broncos. I want to stay away from picking the Broncos. I don't know what in the world is going on in Denver. I'm going to let you pick this game.
Yeah, I thought about locking this one up, but I'm going to hold off on it.
Oh.
I am going to pick the 49ers, though. I did like the idea of just picking them to win, but on the road, it could be tough. Maybe Denver figures out some of their stuff and all of a sudden is a pretty good team. But yeah, I mean, I like the Niners in this one. If Kittle's back, they're going to be pretty healthy on offense. I like what they're able to do still in the running game. It's the Kyle Shanahan offense. They're going to be awesome there. And yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to be able to hold off this Denver offense that is uninspiring. And it's just going to, Denver's defense has been good the first couple weeks, but they haven't been tested, I think, to their full strength. So I think this is the first big test for the Denver defense and how they match up. I'm going to go. I think the 49ers are the safer pick here, and that's what I'm taking.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's so interesting with Denver, right? Because we talk about the talent they have, and even if I wasn't as big of a fan of them heading into the season, there still is plenty of talent here. It just feels like can they get there? Can they get to their full potential in time? And they kind of need to get there quickly because their schedule is tough, and they can't be 1-3, 1-4, and then trying to make the playoffs. Let's have a super chat. It will come to another game where the Broncos head coach screws up on the clock management and not trust Russ. I mean, what you have to do if you're Nathaniel Hackett all week is just play Madden, right? Playing Madden, getting the clock situation under control. That's what you should be doing.
They should be. I mean, it's a good argument. I've heard it a few times that NFL coaches should play Madden or hire like 15-year-olds that play Madden all the time to work clocks, because I think it makes a lot of sense. These guys, I don't know, it seems like he freezes when it comes to the opportunity to make decisions like this. So he needs to figure something out with this, because I like Nathaniel Hackett. I like the hire at the time, but he's got to be able to handle head coaching responsibilities as simple as time management.
Isn't the move, if you can't figure this stuff out, just do the okay? I'm an analytics guy. I'm following the analytics just so you have something, so you don't have to like keep screwing up these decisions.
You would think so. I mean, it all depends. I don't know. It's a weird situation. So hopefully he's able to figure it out. I mean, I do hope for his sake, because this team's already getting booed at home. If this starts to go south in this game, it could be trouble there for Denver this season.
Yeah. I'm very fascinated about this 49ers team. I'm interested in seeing, how will they match up against the Broncos. I'm more fascinated about their defense and how their defense is going to match up against the Broncos offense. Defense has played well so far, but, we've seen Russell Wilson, do some damage against teams before. I just feel like, are we going to see that this week? Because I do have to say, like, when I'm watching that Texans game, yes, they're struggling to move the ball at times, and yes, there are some issues, but there are also times when things do look very good, or like someone's getting open, but then it's like a tipped pass or something that causes it to be incomplete. So, like, I do think the Broncos team is better than maybe we've seen so far.
There's a chance. Like, I still thought like they played well in week one. They played well enough to win as long as they didn't fumble twice on the 1 yard line.
Hmm.
And they toe tapped in the end zone another time. But I don't know. Like we've seen some teams that were like, this team should be good, right? And then things just never break their way. It seems like, I don't know. I guess it could be a luck factor thing, but also like, is it a discipline factor thing? I don't know, because this team commits a lot of penalties too to start the season. So I mean, they know how to yell run or pass on the sideline, but they can't get lined up at the line of scrimmage on the play clock. I don't get it.
Yeah, yeah. They've got some work to do, I think. Does it help or hurt the 49ers that Jimmy Garoppolo's in this game?
I would say help.
At
Like
least for the
right now,
short term, probably.
yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say I still think Trey Lance has a higher ceiling than Garoppolo, but
Hmm.
we hadn't seen it through the first game or plus. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll help. It'll be interesting because Denver has a couple guys I think that they can throw at them. Bradley Chubb, we talked about Myles Garrett's right now. If you look at edge defenders on PFF, Myles Garrett's number one in pass rushing. Micah Parsons is number two. Bradley Chubb is number three, and I think he's been really good to start the season. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they approach that matchup because that's a battle of giants there between him and Trent Williams.
Yeah, that should be fascinating. We have a super chat from Brett saying, "Always love when I catch the live show. Keep it up, guys." Yes, appreciate the super chat.
Thank you.
All right, ready to move on to the next game?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so now it is time for you to give me a game. So where you go?
Let's go with the next closest line on the book. Let's do. I don't really know what to think of these two teams right now, and the other team screwed me last week. So let's go Raiders at Titans.
Yeah. Also next on my board, I'm with you. I mean, there's so many games that I'm just like, I have no idea what you are. I don't know which team is good, which team is bad. Uh, it's weird, right? I think I have to pick the Raiders in this one. They are 1 point favorites despite being on the road. I think that there's, part of the my thought process here is, Titans, I think their defense will play better, but I just have not seen them show enough on offense to really feel confident with them. The Raiders looked really good through the first half of that Cardinals game. I mean, they were looking lights out. They, things obviously went very haywire, but part of it was just Kyler Murray being Kyler Murray. I just feel like the Raiders are a better football team right now. I think that neither one of these teams are 0-2 football teams. I don't think either of these teams are 0-3 football teams, but one of them is going to be, barring a tie. I just feel like the Titans more fit that mold.
Yeah, like if the Raiders lose this game, are they dead?
I was actually going to ask you if either team loses this game, are they dead? And I think the answer is yes. I think you can't go 0-3 for either. I guess maybe the Titans just because of
I
the
don't.
division.
Yeah, because I had a friend ask me if the Colts are done if they lose to the Chiefs, which we'll talk about in a second. But I just think with the nature of the AFC South, like we'll get more data points, but there's a potential that a 7-win team wins the AFC South this season, based on what we've seen from these
A
teams.
7-win team, that would be crazy because it'd be 7-10, not even 7-9.
Yeah, I know. There's a
Hmm.
potential. I think there's a potential a 7-10 team wins the AFC South, but we need more data on that, so we'll see on that one. But yeah, I just think because of the nature of that division, they're not necessarily dead. But I think the Raiders at this point, if they fall to 0-3, like there's a good chance they're 3 games behind Kansas City. There's a chance that they're a couple games out of a wild card spot already. I know it's early in the season. I just don't see you rebounding from that situation. So I think they are, in fact, they would be dead at that point because I just don't see them rebounding from that big of a hole. Um, I think I would pick the Raiders in this game, but I don't love the pick. Like, I don't know. It's such a toss up to me. Like, it's another one where it's like, okay, I could see Max Crosby kind of wrecking this game for the Titans, and we haven't seen enough from the running game to think that Derrick Henry is going to bounce back and have a big game in this one. But the Raiders have found a way to shot themselves in the foot the first 2 weeks of the season, and I don't know how to trust that.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and I do feel like, again, Titans defense is good. Titans defense, I know I'm sort of leaving Buffalo out of it. I think Buffalo's just going to do that to team, but I still would say that I like the Titans defense, so I could see them finding a way to win, and especially if they can get the running game going, that can help. They have again, the receiving core has role players. It needs a star. Only you can get like an AJ Brown type, that would be great. I just think that there's that's kind of what they're missing, and maybe in a game like the Raiders, against a team like the Raiders, maybe you can find a way to make it work. But I don't know. I mean, like Rocky Sin's come in. He was kind of a big question mark. How is Rocky Sin going to play? He's played well. He hasn't played great, but he's
Hmm.
played well for the Raiders. And so I think that's kind of that's why I feel okay about the Raiders defense. And I think that their offense is significantly better than Titans offense, and offense wins games in today's NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. I'm going to give you Texans at Bears because I don't want to have to care about this game. So I'm going to make you care about it.
yeah, I don't think there's going to be a ton of eyes on this one. Give me the Texans though. Let's
Okay.
ride Texans on the road. I probably should have checked the weather report for this game because who knows if it's another monsoon in Chicago.
Hmm.
I think the Texans can cover. I don't know how the Bears are going to be able to throw the ball on this team. I really don't from what I've seen the first few weeks. So I think the Texans have looked slightly less abysmal, and I think that it's going to be a Texans victory here.
Yeah. Well, the bright side about the Bears is they have a lot of practice about not being able to throw on other teams. So this shouldn't be really an issue.
That's true, but like I don't know. I feel like you still need to be able to throw the ball to win football games, even if it's just one time. You got to be able to throw the ball, unless you're Mac Jones in Buffalo.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. Well, hey, he threw the ball 3 times.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, well, I mean, that's the way to honestly. I'm sort of half joking, but like that's really the way the Bears win this game, right? It's like Justin Fields just makes some plays of his legs, and like that doesn't even seem that outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, but I also think like the Texans. I don't know, like they just seem to have a little more compete factor in them right now. I think this defense has played. I don't think it's a good defense. I guess I'll start with
You
that.
think it's a great one?
It's a great no. Like I don't think it's a good or great defense, but I think that they compete hard. I mean, they're
It's
currently,
confident.
yeah, they're currently. I think it's. Let me look at it here. I mean, they're top half of the league in rush EPA right now, and
Oh,
for defense, I mean they work hard. I think, and they got some good defensive ends on that team, solid defensive ends on that team. And I think Stingley has had up and down start as you'd expect a rookie corner to. I think he can be really good in this game because it's I think it's a much more manageable matchup for him.
yeah. Pro Football Focus has him as with a very tough grade, but I think it's because of his assignment. I actually think he's played well. I think he's been. They've asked a lot of him out of a rookie, and I think he's done a good job.
Yeah.
But when you get a tough assignment, your PFF grade is going to go lower. That's sort of how that works. But yeah, again, they look competent, but like me, I'm not a Justin Fields stan. I do feel like there is a quarterback mismatch in this game. I do feel like I trust Fields to make plays more than Mills does. But hey, Mills will make a play or two himself, and he probably has an easier matchup to do that. So I could see the Texans winning as well. I think the Texans should be favored in this game. I should say that. I would also pick the Texans to win. I was surprised Chicago was favored. It's in Chicago, so that's probably why. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you go by conventional line thought, it'd be like neutral site Texans are favored by half a point.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just think it is an interesting matchup. Like Fields could make a couple plays with his legs and they kind of take a 14-10 win, but like I don't also think like we saw the Texans in week 1 be able to throw the ball around the yard a little bit. And I still don't think
Mhm.
this, despite what happened in week 1, I don't think the Chicago secondary is anything to write home about. So I think I trust the Texans to throw in the Chicago secondary more than I trust Chicago to throw in the Houston secondary.
Kyle, I have to say, with all the praise we're giving Houston through 2 weeks, if we're doing the quarterback rankings, or excuse me, if we're doing the head coaching rankings again, does Lovie Smith make it better than 32nd in this one?
Based on the first 2 weeks, yes. I don't know, like, uh,
Okay.
I I mean, has he done an amazing job? No, but I mean, this kind of reminds me. It's reminding me a little bit of Dan Campbell last year. Like,
Hmm.
like I don't think he's like rewriting history books with how great of a head coach he is, but there seems to be just an edge about this team that they want to play a little bit harder. I don't. It's not really a quantifiable thing, but the defense definitely has looked better through the first 2 weeks under Lovie Smith than it did last year.
Yeah, I think that I remember from his time in Tampa, kind of one of the things he was very good at was player development. I think because his scheme is so simple that like it just sort of helps you get into the league and get things going, and that probably makes it easier for young players, which is maybe what's helping. But let's move on. Let's stop talking about this game. Let's go to a different game. Kyle, give me a game.
Another game that a lot of people are going to be watching this week. Let's go Falcons at Seahawks.
Okay, yeah, we're really. I mean, that Packers Buccaneers game really. I think people are saying, "What are we doing talking about Falcons Seahawks before that?" But no, Kyle, give me the Falcons, and don't just give me the Falcons. I'm locking up the
Ooh.
underdog Falcons to win this football game. I am not Seattle's still having their Super Bowl hangover 2 weeks from beating the Broncos. I think the Falcons have looked competent. I think that this is a scheme that Arthur Smith should love to go against, because the whole Arthur Smith scheme is to try to get teams in zone coverage. And Pete Carroll, we know how he loves his zone coverage. So I think that this should help. I think the offense will do well. I am not a Geno Smith believer, and I think that the corners will be able to shut down kind of the best part about the Seahawks team, which is their wide receivers, or at least slow them down, if not shut them down. So I like Atlanta. They're on the road, but I'm still going to lock them up.
I agree with the logic here. I had it as a potential lock candidate too. The only issue, I think playing in Lumen Field's hard.
Yeah.
Playing in Seattle's tough, so I wasn't going to lock it up because of that. Especially with such a young Falcons team, like I feel like that could just lead to mistakes in itself. But I agree with all the logic here. I do think Atlanta's the better team. I just think going on this road environment like this, and you know what, maybe Seattle finds a way to run the ball a little and kind of control this clock and make this game interesting that way.
One interesting thing about the Falcons, so they've looked better this year than I think a lot of people expected them to. But one of their kind of their thing is, hey, we got Drake London and we have Kyle Pitts. Drake London come in, been great immediately. He's looked awesome. Kyle Pitts, not so much. Kyle Pitts has not been off to a great start. Seems like him and Mariota don't have a connection or something. I don't know what it is. But did we expect that to get better? It'll probably get better to some degree. But how much of that is a real concern, and how much of that is just, it's 2 weeks, it'll get better?
Well, they said it's a they said he's now listed at decoy. No, I mean I think the thing is like I don't know, because I was looking at it, I was like, does Marcus Mariota play with tight ends well in the past when he was at Tennessee? And I was like, oh wait, he had Delaney Walker, so he had to be at least okay with tight ends.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been a weird start. I'm not overly worried yet, just because I think Pitts is so talented. I just think that they're still it's the first couple weeks of the season with these guys. They're new with each other. I think it's eventually going to work itself out. I'm not hitting the panic meter on it just yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I agree. I would agree with that. For the Seahawks, what are we interested about? If you're a Seahawks fan, what are you rooting for?
Some explosive plays from Kenneth Walker, Rashad Penny, maybe a big
Mhm.
play from DK Metcalf. That's basically it. I mean, look, like as I was saying, I think that Seahawks might be able to come in and run this ball at home and kind of control the clock that way. The Falcons are 31st in EPA rushing EPA, and that's just ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles, who have basically blown teams out and then kind of sat on the ball a little bit. Um, I I don't know, like there's an opportunity for Seahawks to kind of move the ball a little bit on offense. I think in this game, I think the Falcons are okay. I'm not sold on this team of being very good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not like a super. The Falcons are an awesome team. I like the matchup, and I think they're a better team. It's more of an anti-Seahawks take. But let's get off of this game. Let's finally get to the thumbnail game, the one that maybe I'm biased, but I feel like this is the game of the week. Packers at Buccaneers. I'm giving it to you. Who do you have one?
Um, Man, I went back and forth on this one for a while. I eventually settled on the Packers, even on the road. Like
How dare you?
there, this is going to be interesting because I think both of these teams are going to run into some problems on offense. I think I'm taking the under on this game for
Yeah.
sure because I'm looking at this Packers team that what I saw against the Bears is that exactly what I expected this Packers team to be this season. I think that they want to run the ball, kind of punish some teams, and use AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones effectively that way. And then Rodgers going to pick his spots downfield. The Buccaneers are probably the worst team ever to do that against because they have this guy named Vita Vea who's pretty good at defensive tackle.
Uh-huh.
So they're going to be able to defend the run really well. That being said, with Mike Evans out, now I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen anything about Chris Godwin playing or not, or even Julio Jones. But with Mike Evans out, like, I also think that Buccaneers, who offense hasn't looked spectacular because it's been a little banged up, having a bunch of problem against this Green Bay secondary, which I think is elite. So I'm going to lean Packers here. I don't love the pick, but I think it's going to be really close. I wouldn't bet either side of this.
Yeah, I'm with you. This feels like a complete toss-up. I guess if I had to bet, I would bet on the Packers just because you have 3 points. I think, but one thing that I'll say it because it's true. Aaron Rodgers in Florida doesn't tend to go too well. I don't know what that is. It's kind of one of those weird things. Like Brady had that in Miami for all those years. Rodgers has struggled. I was at a game when the Buccaneers were wearing creamsicle uniforms. That was Josh Freeman's first start when Aaron Rodgers threw his first pick six of his career. He threw another pick six and nearly 2 pick sixes the last time he played in Tampa. Also had that game against the Saints that was in Jacksonville week 1 last year. So he's had some stinkers in Florida. I don't know if that means anything. Probably not, but that's another thing that pops into my head here.
Yeah. By the way, Julio Jones and Chris Godwin did not practice today, so that's not a good sign for them playing this week.
Although it's Wednesday, veterans never practice on Wednesday.
That's true. I think Brady has off Wednesday, so why even show up?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be interesting. Do you think the Packers would still be able to run the ball in this game? Like, nobody runs on Tampa, but do you think the Packers can?
I think they could okay. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that they'll find ways to get it going to some degree. I think, again, run your outside runs. You're right. I mean, it's hard because you have to put so much focus on Vita Vea. And also, it's like, okay, you get past Vita Vea, you still have to deal with Devin White and Levante David. And say what you want about Devin White and his coverage ability, but he definitely has great range. And, he'll miss a tackle, but he can do that. You still have, other guys who can make plays on that front seven as well. So, they'll be able to do it, but they'll have to make throws. Both of these teams are going to have to make throws at the end of the day. I'm actually kind of a little bit more worried about, is this possible that Tampa Bay is going to say, well, we have to run the ball a bunch to try and, win this game, which I think would be a losing strategy. I want them to pass the ball. Even, you have Tom Brady. Okay, yes, you might have 0 receivers. I take Tom Brady throwing to Scotty Miller over trying to win the game with Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's defensive line's nothing to scoff at either. I mean, Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary are very good too. So, I mean, this is like, I think this is going to be like a weird, like, I think a lot of people are going to tune into this game, obviously, because it's the game of the week. And I think a lot of people are going to come away from this game and probably say both of these teams look bad. But I don't think this game this week, especially with the health concerns of Tampa, is going to be indicative of either of these teams by the end of the season. Like, I could see them being playing in the playoffs, and the matchup looks a lot different.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I think that both quarterbacks are going to look bad. Everyone's going to make fun of the losing quarterback no matter what, and it's going to be great. Twitter will have a great time during this one.
Yeah, people love to bash on these two, so it's definitely going to happen. I think it is going to be fascinating. Like, I just need to see this on the field because I feel like I don't have a feel for how this is actually going to go down. I think another thing too, like, you did say you trust Tom Brady passing the ball more than Leonard Fournette. I think I trust Matt LaFleur to scheme up things more than Byron Leftwich and scheme up mismatches. I think he's going to try and figure something out against this Tampa secondary.
Yeah, the nice thing about the Packers is that, them having no receivers was by design, so they should be more prepared for it than Tampa Bay will be. Crazy how they've gotten so depleted. Hey, Mike Evans, maybe stop getting suspended by hitting Marshawn Lattimore. Maybe just cut that out a little.
I'm going the other way. I'm saying do it more.
How dare you? I mean, it's fun. Well, just wait until we play the Jets next week or something. Pick your spots better. Okay, Kyle, give me a game.
All right, Captain Fierce can calm down a little bit now. Actually, I don't really actually want to go to that game yet.
Oh.
Let's wait on it. I fooled you. I got you. Let's go with let's go to the other marquee game. Actually, let's just get it out of the way here. Bills at Dolphins.
Okay, Bills at Dolphins. I think the audio-only listeners are going to be very confused why you just told someone named Captain Fierce to calm down. Yes, Bills at Dolphins here. I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills. Yes, I'm sorry, 2-on. I am still going with Buffalo here. I just can't pick against Buffalo until they lose. I feel like they're playing such good football right now. It's hard to bet against them. And I mean, we've seen Tua struggle against this Bills team. We have. We have not seen Tua struggle against a Bills team when Tua has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So that's kind of the unique thing. Can anybody cover those two guys? I think the answer is no. So I think the Dolphins will still be able to put up points. But this one, could be an explosive game. I'm really looking forward to this game. I might even pick the Dolphins if you give me the points. But straight up, I am picking the Bills to win.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think the Bills are going to be I do think that the Bills should be able to win this game. I think the big thing, like, I'm worried a little bit because, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be too worried because I was worried that Trey White was going to be out for 4 games. How this Bills secondary is going to hold up. Now they're down 2 corners after that freaky injury, but like maybe it just doesn't matter because of how good this front four is. I do think the big thing is though what this Bills team is going to be able to do, and I think we saw it in Week 1 with the Patriots when they had the Dolphins slow down a little bit. I think getting pressure with 4 on Miami is essential, basically, to beating them. Because it's very hard, as we saw with Baltimore, even though they tried cover 0 against
Right.
Miami's speed. I think the strength in numbers for defenses against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is going to be key. And I think the Bills have strength in numbers. They're going to be able to rush 4, drop a lot of people into coverage, and have to throw through tight windows. Is he going to be able to do it? We're going to see
Like
how
the
that works.
tongue twister.
Yeah, exactly. Is Tua going to be able to do it? We'll see how it works out. But I think that because with those safeties going deep, with the speed that team has on defense, and dropping into coverage and getting pressure with 4, I think they're going to slow down the Dolphins just enough to win this game.
Yeah, I think my favorite play from that Ravens game was the game-tying touchdown that Tyreek had, where there was no safety help, but the corner just assumed there was, even though there was no one even lined up behind him. So he just let him go, and there was just nobody on that entire side of the field around Tyreek Hill. So maybe cover Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying do a great job. I'm saying literally just at least have a guy on him for every snap, and have a guy who is supposed to cover him, and you will do a better job than Baltimore did in that fourth quarter. But as a whole, I think that again, this offense is going to cause trouble. The Dolphins' offense is, but the Bill, like you said, the Bills are uniquely matched up to match up against it, so they should do okay.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it's going to be fascinating. This is a huge test for the Dolphins. I still really like this team and think it's a playoff team, but I think this is going to show us just how good this team can be.
It should be fantastic. I mean, and again, you have an MVP candidate with Josh Allen and another MVP candidate with Tua.
Don't make me say it, man.
Will Tua be in the Hall? If Tua retires now, is he a Hall of Famer?
I'm going to say to be determined. Actually,
Okay, Tua
first year lock.
Okay, right. Immediately. All right. We've gotten off the rails. Yes, it should be a very fascinating game. Let's move on. So I'm giving you a game now. I'm going to give you your team, Ravens at Patriots. This one should be a fun one. I know you're going to have a lot to say about the Ravens and the Patriots in this one, Kyle. Who do you have winning?
I am going to take the Ravens.
Okay.
I could see this being closer than people think. It does sound like J.K. Dobbins is finally going to play, which should help the Ravens running game. But it is going to be interesting because I think that the Patriots are going to take a kind of similar approach to how they had that Dolphins set up, where you're going to see a lot of Jonathan Jones on Rashad Bateman try to limit that speed advantage. And I think Jonathan Jones has been a pretty good corner, I think, through the first couple weeks of the season. Jalen Mills has not. Jalen Mills, I think, is PFF's worst graded cornerback. He's had really tough assignments, so I'll give him a little bit of a pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be this Patriots defense might just be good. And I think that the Ravens are better basically across the board. And I think the toughest thing is going to be how do the Patriots throw on this Ravens secondary? And right now, I don't think they can. So I take the Ravens, and if I were bet aside, I guess -3.
Yeah, that's just the issue. It's like I think I agree with you. Like I like this Patriots defense a lot. I liked it going into the season, and it surpassed my expectations. But their offense, like, what's going on? I mean, again, this whole Devontae Parker thing, he's somehow gotten the most snaps out of any wide receiver so far, and they just can't seem to get that together. Been run blocking well. Maybe that's why Belichick likes him so much. I don't get why can't they figure out this Devontae Parker thing?
That's a good question. I don't really know what's going on with. I mean, actually, my theory was before the season is that I don't think he's a good matchup with Mac Jones. He's a
Mm-hmm.
jump ball receiver, and Mac Jones doesn't throw a lot of jump balls. He did throw the touchdown for the jump ball to Nelson Aguilar last week, but he doesn't really throw a lot of 50-50 balls. And he likes guys who get separation, and Devontae Parker is the opposite of separation. So I think it's a bad match between receiver and quarterback. And he's just not getting separation. I have no idea why Kendrick Bourne doesn't play more. Kendrick Bourne matches what Mac Jones likes to do really well. He finds spaces in zones. So I think he needs to play more. But I just think looking at what this Ravens cover zero defense is going to look like, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for the Patriots to get open in this game.
Yeah. The other thing is, one thing that's so exciting about the Ravens, and I wish it happened during like a game where they didn't blow a 21-point lead, but this sort of what's happened with their offense, I think it's been fantastic what they've done so far. Where Rashad Bateman is winning against man coverage, like for the first time in Lamar's career, he's had a receiver who can like beat man coverage. I mean, he's always had Mark Andrews, but he's a tight end. There is sort of a, as great as he is of a tight end, there still is kind of a limit there. But with Rashad Bateman, like having a receiver now who can do that, the Dolphins played some cover zero and got burned by it in that game. So I think for the Patriots who might be looking to do some of that, I think the Ravens, again, it still might be the preferred strategy, but the Ravens can now capitalize on it. Pro Football Focus usually hates Lamar, not hates, but like their grading system hurts his style of play, but he's still their 7th highest graded quarterback. So that really shows, Lamar could win MVP this year. I really think it's possible.
Yeah, he's really helped, and having Duvernay be able to take the top off some of these defenses too.
Yeah.
I think has helped. I think there's some good pieces of this Ravens offense, and I think the running game is going to get better once Dobbins starts playing. So I think they could be dangerous. I could see this ending up like a 20-16 kind of game, and people think it's closer, but I think the Ravens are just a better team.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to another game. You're going to give me a game. Where are you going?
All right. Let's do Saints at Panthers.
All right. Saints at Panthers. It's the last 3-point spread. And I'm picking the Saints to win. This feels like I'm a little surprised it's just 3 points. This was a lock candidate for me. I know there were, Jameis Winston, bad Jameis reared its ugly head last week. That can always, that always is a factor. That can always happen. But he was doing really good for the Saints up until that game. So, I still think that there is, I think the Saints are a good team. I think that they, when the Saints and Bucs play each other, weird stuff happens. I think weird stuff happened in that game. But I think New Orleans is very good. I still see them as a playoff team, in my opinion. I think the Panthers are really bad. So I think that the Saints will beat them.
I think that's fair. I have a tough time seeing how the Panthers move the ball in this Saints defense. I think the Jameis playing through injury is probably the only thing that concerns me about this game.
Sure.
Like, he's already not the most stable quarterback, I think, in the NFL.
Fair.
And yeah, so I think the injury thing might be, I don't know. I imagine it's hard to throw a football consistently with 3 cracked ribs. So I can't imagine how he's playing through that. So I think that's the only thing that I'm looking at. And, does all of a sudden this Saints team turtle up and struggle to move the ball as well? But I do think that they're the better team. And I think this defense is significant by a pretty far margin, the best position, the best side of all of these teams. So I'm going to take the Saints here as well. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that and I still like the Saints offense as long as Winston doesn't, get too wild. One of the hilarious things about the Panthers is that they went out and they, their offensive line, they've had 4 great starters, and the one who struggled is Akeem Ekwonu, who's like the one guy they went out and spent this great, the 6th overall draft pick on. It's like, man, if he can really develop, this would look great. Right now, it's been a little bit, it's very, very amusing how I feel like they put all this effort into it, and that's been the one area that they need to fix.
Yeah. They really need the help there. So like you said, that could be, if he ends up good, that could be an elite offensive line. We just haven't seen it yet. And they haven't really figured out how to get McCaffrey the ball, which I don't know if it's trying to lighten his workload because of the health stuff the last few seasons, but I generally like an offense that has Christian McCaffrey to use Christian McCaffrey more than not use him. That's my hashtag analysis.
Yeah, especially when you look at the passing situation. Yeah, that seems like it might be the right move.
Yeah. So get Christian McCaffrey the ball. We'll see if the Panthers can move it a little bit. I'm not as convinced though in this week with this elite Saints defense.
Yeah, and you just feel like, I don't know, doesn't this just feel like, DeMario Davis is going to get an interception or something? Like, one of those, one of these great Saints defenders is going to make a great play on Baker Mayfield, who will force the ball with the tight window sometimes.
Yeah, he'll throw it right into his lap and not see him in coverage or something like that. And, even for that game against Tampa, it obviously ended up bad. New Orleans still found explosive play opportunities in that game. They had the Chris Olave shot that he ended up fumbling the ball, but they've been able to create some plays downfield with this offense. And I'm curious to see if they can continue to do that in this one.
Yeah, gotta hit him though. Again, that's always been an issue with Winston is the deep ball accuracy. So we'll see if that can turn around. All right. I'm gonna give you a game. I'm gonna give you the game that's tomorrow against again, kind of another one of those like I feel like, you know what, Kyle, football is officially back because I saw the Thursday night game and said, that means it's back, you know, because the first couple of weeks you're like, I don't care what you're putting in front of my TV, I'm excited. Steelers Browns. I'm like, I mean, there is some intrigue in this game. I feel like are fascinating aspects of it, but not the most exciting primetime game. Where are you going here?
I'm going with the Browns. I thought about locking it up too, but I'm just not. I don't really like betting against Mike Tomlin, especially when I think he has. Like I think, what's the guy's name? Oh my god, the head coach for the Browns,
Kevin Stefanski.
Kevin Stefanski. There we go. I was looking for the net word. Stefanski is solid. I just don't think he's on Tomlin's level. I think the one thing that we saw though in that last game against the Patriots for the Steelers is the first week without TJ Watt did not bring good returns for this defensive line. I thought at times the Patriots offensive line was able to kind of push them around and bully them a little bit. And I think the Browns have the best offensive line in the league right now. So that's going to be a bad matchup for them. They don't need to use Brissett a whole lot in this game. I think they should be able to beat up the Steelers front four, and I think the Browns should win this one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that's a good logic of, I still think the Steelers, run defense and the Steelers, what they can do is fine, but I agree. I don't think it's like, it loses a lot when you lose TJ Watt, obviously. I think that they should be able to run the ball well. And, I'm not saying that if you put in Kenny Pickett, the offense is going to magically look better for the Steelers, but they probably should be playing Kenny Pickett. I still think the Browns should be able to, the Browns defense right now is better than the Steelers defense because, if TJ Watt is there, maybe it's a different story, but he's not. So the Browns defense is better. And I honestly think the Browns offense is better. So I would also have the Browns winning.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I think where the Steelers have had success from what I've saw the first 2 weeks is like Deontay Johnson can win on the outside against a lot of corners. And like they're not creating explosive plays with this offense because Trubisky just doesn't have the arm for it. But he can win in 8 to 10 yard chunks pretty easily. I think he's a very good route runner. The problem is I think the Browns just have, despite what happened at the end of last week, I think that they just have good corners. So I think that their corners should be able to hang with the Steelers receivers and kind of, just suck the wind out of this offense. I wouldn't be surprised if Pickett's eventually in this game because I think the Steelers offense is really going to struggle in this one.
Is this the first time since the Browns became a football team again that the Browns that we're seeing a Browns Steelers game and the general population is rooting for the Steelers?
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say it probably, I mean, yeah, I would say so. I think the Browns were kind of our lovable losers for a lot of years, and the Steelers obviously were fantastic. So I think that added a lot to it.
Yeah, I mean, that was the reason. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
because, people, I don't know, hate steel.
No, definitely not. I don't know. I'm more of an aluminum guy myself.
Okay, all right. Well, our next podcast will be breaking that down. But yeah, let's move on. So now you give me a game.
Oh wait, yeah. I was like, didn't I just give you that one? Let's go. Let's go ahead and just get this one out of the way. I know who you're picking in this one. You got to double down on it. Let's go Bengals at Jets.
Bengals actually. What do you mean double down? Like as if like that's like a hot. Yeah, I'm picking the Bengals to win this game. I feel like even if feels like listen, the Jets are frisky. Jets are competent. I've been banging the table all off season. The Jets are better than people realize. But this feels like a get right game for the Bengals, right? You're playing a team that you should beat. You're playing a team that, still has some talent there. So it's not like you're completely just going to, roll over them. But it's a team that you should be able to beat. And if you lose, then, trade away all of your veterans and rebuild to next year.
Yeah, I mean, definitely think there's a potential for that. So I have a little trivia question.
Okay.
It's not really a trivia question, but could you name the Jets defensive end who's top 10 in pass rushing ability right now for the PFF?
No, who?
John Franklin Myers is an absolute stud. Like he's been good. I thought he was good last year, and he's been good this year too. And we've this Bengals offensive struggles where they try and develop all these or they try and run all these long developing pass plays. The offensive line struggled, and Joe Burrow struggled. I think it's all kind of led to this team getting sacked a lot and their quarterback getting hit a lot. The Jets have guys that can get after the quarterback. Like it wouldn't be so, because right behind him, a little further down the list, a guy named Carl Lawson is pretty good, and the Bengals know about him a little bit too.
Right.
Like, there is a chance that I think the Jets defense can frustrate this Bengals offense some more. And if the Bengals struggle again, like what's their panic meter if the Bengals struggle in this game, even if they win?
High. I mean, it's high. I mean, well, especially because the Bengals, their expectation is Super Bowl. I mean, their expectation is to win the Super Bowl. Because if they don't, then it's a worse season or equal season than what they had last year. They already had the win a playoff game. They already had to go to the Super Bowl. That stuff's fun. You want to win the Super Bowl now, or it's a bad season. And I mean, going 0-3, or even going 1-2, but looking bad through 3 weeks, the panic meter is very high. I also do have to say though, I'm not ready to be all aboard the John Franklin Myers elite edge rusher just yet. Yes, okay, looked good. That's very good. I'm not saying he's a bad edge rusher. I'm just saying, let maybe pump the brakes on. Not only do they have John Franklin Myers, but look who else they have. Okay, no, not ready to go there yet.
Well, I think my point is that they have two good guys I think can get after the quarterback.
Sure, and there still is hope for Jermaine Johnson. Hasn't looked spectacular so far, but 41 snaps. I mean, what can you do there?
Yeah. So overall, I think it'll be interesting to see how this matches up. I mean, I think Bengals fans have to hope that there's I don't even think you need to I don't think the Bengals need to go in and win this game by 20. You just need your offense to start to look like the offense that we saw at the end of the season last year.
Yeah. Also, Joe Flacco, the third highest graded quarterback according to PFF. So there you go. Flacco, the elite Joe Flacco is back. Quarterback controversy with the Jets.
Maybe we'll have to bring back the Jets quarterback power rankings again from last season. And not to mention, Garrett Wilson's looked really good too. He's 13th as far as NFL wide receivers by PFF grade. So they've shown some flashes too. So I think the Bengals should win this one handily, but would you be shocked if the Jets win this game at home?
No, I would be surprised. I would be surprised though. But I mean, listen, the Jets are competent. Jets are a team that very much has a chance. They have some players. I still do feel like they have some flaws though. I'm not willing to fully say Flacco is fully elite just yet, but he's pretty close.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I like the matchup.
Yeah, no, that should be a fun game. And listen, Jets beat the Bengals last year. That was the Mike White game. So we'll see if the Bengals have learned anything about, hey, maybe just cover a check down. It's okay. You can do that. You're allowed to do that in football. All right. So now I'm trying to remember here. So now it is time for me to give you a game. I'll give you the Eagles Commanders here.
Yeah, give me the Eagles in this one. I'm not going to buy into the Carson Wentz revenge game or anything like that. I think that the Eagles should be able to throw on this. This is another defense. I'm waiting to see the right defense go up against this Jalen Hurts offense to get a full test of it. I don't think this Commanders defense, what we saw last week, is the right defense for this. Although Detroit's offense might just be awesome. We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's very well possible. But I'll take the Eagles here. I'm pretty confident with this team. Everything that I've seen through the first few weeks says that they're a significantly better team, and I think that they should be able to dominate this game on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think so as well. Again, I think we're getting into the point now where, not to say that these are, every team we know is going to win because it's the football, but I feel good about picking from here on out, whereas earlier it feels like you could argue either one. I think I agree. I think that the Eagles offense feels significant. It feels like just a more well-oiled machine than the Commanders offense. And I think the Eagles defense looks significantly better right now. Again, the duo now of the veterans, James Bradbury and Darius Slay, has been great. And also throw Avonte Maddox in there. You got a really good cornerback room that's it's tough to go up against. And even for a good receiving core like the Commanders, there's going to be times when no one's open, and we know that bad things happen to Carson Wentz when no one's getting open.
Yeah. And not to mention that he's going to have a pretty good defensive line coming at him too. That I
Hmm.
thought had good returns in week one without Derek Barnett was out, I think, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, good returns in week one with or the first game without him. I think this defensive line's still going to be able to get after him. And not to mention when his guys can't get open, he struggles, and a flustered Carson Wentz also is, a little bit of a roller coaster. So, I would honestly I would consider an outline on this and take the Eagles plus some more points.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, uh, you know, I could see it. I think that. So what's the way that the Commanders win this game? Then is it just Carson Wentz doesn't make mistakes? Because there always is that factor, right? Of his mistakes don't end up coming back to bite him. Like
Yeah.
like the DBs drop the passes he throws right at him.
Um,
You recover
yeah,
the fumbles that he puts on the ground.
yeah. I mean, it could be a situation where a couple picks are dropped, but although we saw good things for this Eagles secondary last week against, I think, a better receiving core from the Vikings.
Hmm.
I still think this is a very good receiving core for the Commanders. I always have to hesitate with their name every time.
I know.
Um, yeah, so I still think this is a very good receiving core for the Commanders. And maybe they create some big plays for this Washington offense that can kind of hang with them in this game. And I think we saw good things from Jameis Winston last week, but I still think he might be prone to a couple mistakes in this one too. He's still a young quarterback, so I still think there's chances that way too.
Yeah. Also, apologies. I wrote Commanders on the comments instead of balls. I forgot to edit that. So my bad on that. For all the confusion, yes, we're talking balls.
Yeah, we're always talking balls. Balls corner right here. Yeah, I mean, I think that's everything I had in this game. Anything else you want to add?
No. Let's go. Let's move on. Give me a game.
Charger or Jaguars at Chargers.
Okay, interesting. So a little surprised. So I'm assuming it's because you still have yet to lock up a game. So I'm assuming your lock. I think I know where you're going here with your lock. So Jags Chargers. I am picking the Chargers to win this football game. But again, like so I had this one last on my list, but still it's like last on my list, but this still feels like a pretty, like a pretty interesting game that I could see going either way. I think that the Jaguars looked very competent last week. Well, not last year. Last year looked very incompetent. Last week they looked very competent. I think Trevor Lawrence, I'm ready to say I think Trevor Lawrence is good. I don't know when
Yeah.
he'll be good. I don't know if it'll take next year for it to really be like a consistent thing, but he reminds me a lot of in a ways of a young Jalen Hurts in his first season, where it's like, okay, there's some issues here, but I can see, but you're doing enough now to at least make yourself solid, and then hopefully you get better. Where obviously Lawrence has much better arm talent than Hurts does, so that's kind of where things get more exciting with him. But I like all that stuff. But I just think that I like Justin Herbert more, I guess is what I'll say. As much as I like the Jaguars offense and what they're doing, I like the Chargers offense more. So I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah, I think I'm taking the Jags here. I like the Jags. I think this team's
Whoa.
good. I think this team is good. All right, here's a trivia question for you for real this time.
Okay.
Can you tell there are two teams in the NFL currently who have both of their outside corners ranked in the top 25 of PFF grades? Can you name those two teams?
Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to assume one is the Jaguars because you're asking it now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah. A bit of a giveaway there. And then the other, I don't know, is Tampa Bay one?
Tampa Bay is not one.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Philadelphia is not it. Trying to think. I can't think of. I can't imagine Baltimore is after the week they just had. So I can't stall anymore. Green Bay, my last guess.
Green Bay is incorrect too. It's actually the New York Giants with both of their outside corners.
Oh,
Now, granted, Aaron Robinson missed week 2, so that adds to it.
okay.
But Jaguars got good corners, man. Shaquille Griffin, 8th quarterback in the league in PFF, tied with Jair Alexander. Just below him, Tyson Campbell, year 2, 22nd currently in PFF grade. He's been very good. I think they got good corners on this team. I like their safeties. I like that they're going to be able to cover this Chargers team, who I don't think it's for sure. Keenan Allen's still playing this game. Who knows if Justin Herbert's going to be 100% in this game? I like that they're going to be able to cover this Chargers team, and I think Trevor Lawrence looked fantastic last week. He diced that Colts defense. I think he's been very good, and I think this team's also going to be able to still run the ball on the Chargers team, who is currently because I wanted to look this up. That's why I've had it referenced a few times. Still in the bottom half of the league in rushing defense EPA. So I like this Jaguars team to go on their road and win this one.
Yeah. There's some issues with this Chargers team. Now, one of the things the Chargers have that we just have to talk about right away is Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Khalil Mack is back, by the way. Like he's back at like full Khalil Mack level, which is awesome
Yeah.
to see. And also, it's not awesome to see if you're a Jaguars fan. So that's what you have to deal with. But one thing that I'm fascinated about with the Chargers thing is J.C. Jackson comes in, plays week 2, did not look good. I mean, he got
Mhm.
burned by who was it? Justin Watson. A guy who's been pretty much a career practice squatter. 99th out of 103 eligible corners is where Pro Football Focus ranks him. Like, you have to hope that gets better, right? Which I'm assuming it will, but still.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, but also like I don't think what's his Asante Samuel Jr. is the 26th best corner in football either. So,
Mhm.
it could balance out the other way, and maybe this is a struggling secondary this season. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think Christian Kirk has more than proven that he can, pick apart some zone defenses, and I think that he's going to have some opportunities here. And I think that they're going to use James Robinson and Travis Etienne effectively, and I think the Jags can go and pull off this upset. Luckily, I'm giving it to you though, even though I'm picking the upset. I don't have it against my record potentially.
Man, I wish I picked this game earlier. Then, if I had known you were picking the upset, good job by you. Then, if you have an upset as my last pick of the week, I mean that's interesting. Again, I still have to say though, we're really trusting Cam Robinson and Jawan Taylor against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. And I know I'm a games are won on the outside guy. That feels like games will be won on in the trenches type of mismatch for the Jaguars.
Quick passing game, lot of
Okay.
lot of running game, lot of screen passes with those two dynamic backs, so you can both catch it out of the backfield. Let's make it happen, Jaguars. I'm believing in you. Let's do it.
Okay, listen. I love the gusto here. We'll see how well this works out. Let's move on. We have 3 games left. I'm gonna give you a game. I'm gonna give you. Well, I'm pretty sure you're gonna lock up one of them, so I'm not gonna give you that one. I'm gonna hold off on that one. So that way, I can pick. Hopefully, give playing some mind games here. We'll see how well this works out. Could be wrong, but I am gonna give you the Chiefs at Colts here.
All right. Well, there we have it. Lock it up. Chiefs
Oh,
-6.5. I'm not deterred by the lot of points. I still have the touchdown hook here. I think this Colts team sucks. I think it
mhm.
stinks. I think there's a good chance that it's really bad. I think Michael Pittman's going to play, which might help it a little bit. But at the same time, I just don't think it's good enough to compete with this Chiefs team right now. I think Matt Ryan has looked bad through the first 2 weeks. I think this coverage since Matt Eberflus left in the offseason has looked bad through the first 2 weeks outside of Stephon Gilmore. And I think that the Chiefs should be able to have a lot of success in this game and win.
Interesting. I mean, well, I mean, I get the logic behind it. The Colts have looked terrible against the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. I mean, they tied the Texans, but still, not what you're hoping for there. I don't know. I still want to see more from this Colts team. I kind of still want to see more from this Kansas City Chiefs team. Like, I know that we're all saying the Chiefs are still the standard in the AFC, but like, I still want to like they are a very new team that I want to see more of, and they, largely did get outplayed by the Chargers last week.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I agree with that. I think it's a good chance that it's you know, that I do think that they're probably an imperfect team right now. I just think that they're better than the Colts. I thought that was a really close game that they probably deserved to lose last week, but I still think that there's good pieces here. And I mean, I just don't know if the Colts have the same juice on defense that the Chargers do right now.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, if you have a chance to, pick the Chiefs, when it's a 1 score deficit, sometimes it's just worth it to do it anyways because the Chiefs just, find a way to run away with games at times. So I do get it, I understand it, but I still just like I don't know. I still look at this team on paper, and I know you can't, you can't just look at it on paper. But you have Stephon Gilmore, who still looks like Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, how about Brandon Faiskin, who I have been pounded? This feels like one of my best takes ever that no one's going to care about because it's some random corner for the Raiders that I kept saying was good, and now he's played really good for the Colts for 2 games. So I'm very proud of myself on that take. They have talent. Sorry, I had to brag for a second. They have a lot of talent on this defense. Unique Ngakoue still looked horrible, so that trade's not looking great. Maybe we'd rather have Rocky Sin, but I still feel like this defense is also kind of uniquely built to slow down a Chiefs offense. I know the Chiefs offense look very different, but I could see them slowing them down and at least help them cover.
They need to, because I think the big thing what we've seen from this Colts team is when this team falls behind, they are struggling because it takes Jonathan Taylor out of the game significantly. And in the first 2 weeks, they've fallen behind, and I don't think this offense has looked very good because of it. If the Chiefs jump on them early, I think that they're going to rout this one. Just because I think if the Colts can kind of manage the clock and do what they do on offense and use Taylor the way they want to, then yeah, I think this game could be closer. But I think there's a good chance the Chiefs can still jump on them early.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's just absurd about the Chiefs, I was looking at their their PFF page right now. They have 4 different players who are the highest graded player at their position currently. You have Travis Kelce, Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, and Chris Jones, all first at their position. And you also had that Patrick Mahomes guy along the way. So no lack of stars here for Kansas City.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good team. So I don't see any reason why I think they should be able to easily win this game by a touchdown right now. So let's ride with the Chiefs. It worked for me in week 1 with my lock. Let's see if we can keep going.
All right. 2 games left. Where are you going?
I guess I'll get just because of the line, I'll give you this one. Let's go Rams at Cardinals. Don't know how to feel about either of these 2 teams just yet. So let's go ahead and pick this one.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be your lock. So that's why I gave you Chiefs Colts. So I screwed up there. But I have the Rams winning this game. The issues I have with the Cardinals, I still have with the Cardinals. I've kind of always maintained that the Cardinals can sort of win any game if Kyler Murray does what he did last week. Kyler Murray, I think, is fantastic, and I think that he's gotten too much criticism since kind of that playoff game didn't go well, but I think that as a whole, he was really good last year. He still is really good. I think Kyler Murray is the better quarterback in this football game. In fact, I don't think I think it's clear Kyler Murray is the better quarterback in this football game. But I think it's also clear the Rams have much more talent around Stafford than the Cardinals do around Kyler. So I am going with the Rams.
I think that's the right side of this. Like, I just don't like the only reason I didn't lock it up because I don't trust this Rams team just yet. Because based on what I've seen the first 2 weeks, like, I don't think this secondary has been very good. The thing that I was thinking, like, I don't think the secondary has been very good the first 2 weeks. But at the same time, like, as crazy as it is to say, like, is there anyone in Arizona you think could actually take advantage of this, struggling secondary? Like, would you like Drake London had a big game in week 2? Would you have any of the Cardinals receiver based on what we've seen these first 2 weeks on Drake London's caliber? I say no.
What, you're not going crazy about Marquise Brown, the renaissance of Marquise Brown?
I think it's been well documented that I've never been crazy about Marquise Brown in any sort of renaissance.
What about the 47-year-old AJ Green?
No. I mean, he dropped like 3 touchdowns last week. So
how about the guy from my new favorite college football team, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, Greg Dorkich, the undrafted guy from 2019, who's now getting significant playing time?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say no on that one. I mean, they need Rondale Moore to play. That's the big thing because I think he has a little bit of a dynamism to him. Your Deeks, by the way, 3-0, rolling. So
all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a I don't trust this receiving core to get open even against this Rams secondary that hasn't looked good. And like, so this Rams pass rush, like, I don't think they have, like, Aaron Donald's obviously a different conversation altogether. He's fantastic in the middle. But like, as far as like the edge guys and what we saw Kyler do at the end of that game, like, I don't think any of them are as good as Max Crosby. But I think they have guys in Leonard Floyd who might be better athletes and might be able to kind of hang with Kyler a little bit. And I don't think he's going to be able to do that stuff that he did at the end of the game.
He'll still be able to do it to some degree. I mean, he's Kyler. Like,
it is Kyler Murray. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone also brought up Zach Ertz, which is true. But again, you're not going to have him win on the outside the way you can have like a receiver do it. I agree. I think, they need Hopkins back. It hurts them a lot to lose him. But again, I think you're exactly right that there are still some flaws with this Rams team that they have to sort of figure out. I think they will, but maybe this is, maybe you're catching them at the right time if you're the Cardinals.
Yeah, yeah, it could be the chance, and maybe there's a revenge factor to the way they got embarrassed in the playoffs.
Hmm.
But I also still think it was a bad matchup in the playoffs for the Cardinals, and I still think it's kind of a bad matchup for the Cardinals.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the final game of the week. Lions Vikings, which again, this is last on the list. This feels like a very interesting game. I'm very excited for this
Yeah.
game. So a great week set up. Who do you have winning?
I am taking the Vikings. I think this line's absurd. Like, I'm
Hmm.
not taking the Vikings -7. I'm
Yeah.
not picking them to win by 2 scores in this one. This Lions offense is good. Like, I don't think it's going to end up being the tied for second best offense in the NFL good, but it's a good offense. They have a great offensive line. DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams are a really nice running back duo that complement each other well. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, as we said last Sunday, we might just have to start considering him among those elite guys. He's played like it, along with
Wow.
TJ Hawkinson, who's a good tight end too. I mean, he's been unreal for the last 8 weeks. So as I just praised all this Lion stuff, the problem is that this secondary is going to get decimated. They're going to get torched in this game. This Vikings offense should be able to throw all over this secondary, and that's why I got the Vikings winning this one. But I think the Lions might be able to score with them.
Lions secondary's been okay through 2 weeks. Jeff Okudah is back. Jeff Okudah's
He
played well.
he has played well. I just
Did
don't think
not
it's the
have that
right.
on my bingo card.
It's not the right matchup for him, man. It's just I don't think it is.
Yeah, there's stuff to like about this Lions team. I'm not willing to say that their offense is great just yet, just because I still feel like their receiving core it very Amon-Ra St. Brown dependent. I mean, yes, you
Yeah.
also have T.J. Hawkinson in there who could definitely do some nice things, but in terms of the actual receivers, DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds, I'm not crazy about either one of those guys. I know some people really like Josh Reynolds. Again, they're both fine for what their role is, but I just don't, I think that having, once Jamison Williams gets there, then I'll feel a lot stronger about it.
Yeah, I mean, so you got one guy with 17 receptions on 24 targets. Then it's 4-7-5-4-1-1-2. He has
Uh-huh.
180 yards through the first 2 weeks. Josh Reynolds has 66. TJ Hawkinson has 64, and DeAndre Swift has 62. Who's a good receiving back. But like you said, it is very centered around Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I mean, until a team actually stops him, I'm just gonna have to consider him really good. Like I honestly am at that point right now. He's been unstoppable, it seems like, for 8 straight games going back to last season.
Yeah. I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think putting him in the elite tier is a bit too premature. Again, we can't have 20 top 5 wide receivers, right?
Yeah. I mean, would you take him or Michael Pittman right now?
That's so interesting because they're such different receivers, right? Like Amon-Ra is kind of like that, Cooper Cup mold of plays the slot, but then can go to the outside. Whereas Pittman is truly an outside guy. So I'd probably take Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that to me he feels better.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't like I'm just even if you look at the guys that are similar stature, like I'm taking him over Tyler Lockett right now. Um
Sure,
I don't know. He's proven to be he's proven to be,
he's a number one. I mean,
yeah.
again, not a number one actually because he doesn't play as a plus receiver, but like he's a top receiver.
Yeah, he's proven it so far. So we'll see how it continues to go. We'll see how he ends up by the end of the season. But he's been unstoppable, including the last time they played the Vikings with that game-winning touchdown. His last 8 to 10
Hmm.
games or so. So
Counterpoint, Kirk Cousins at a 1 o'clock game immediately after looking horrible on a Monday night game. I mean, this is just you do not want to play Kirk Cousins at 1 o'clock right after he embarrassed himself on primetime.
yeah, he'll be back in this one. Back to
Hmm.
his borderline elite category.
Yeah.
Man, I don't like. Yeah, I still think they should have success on this Lions defense, but I do think going the other way. I think the Lions can kind of run with them a little bit. They have the horses to compete.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I like the Lions to cover, but the Vikings to win. Um, all right. So and Lions always cover. That's our show. That is our picks. Should be fun. What, Kyle, I think you're gonna get more than 2 right this week.
I sure hope so. Um, yeah, let's hope for it. Chiefs lock, baby. Let's make it happen. I hope I get everything right, but the Ravens. That's what I hope for.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. And I hope you. I don't know. I hope you get everything wrong, including the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's very well possible too. I mean, based on
Uh,
my early start, I think it's possible.
yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks to everybody for watching. If you like to listen to your podcast, the audio only feed, I made the last one available. I will make this one available. And if I forget, again, tweet. If I forget, if you like to listen to on the podcast, you don't see it up. I probably just forgot. So tweet at me. I'll put it up there. And Kyle, let them know I'm going to find us on Twitter.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page. That's at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Yes, Kyle. Any final thoughts before we head out?
Looking forward to week 3. Always a good time. Got some good college football this weekend too. So I hope you're watching. Hopefully USC can beat Oregon State. Good stuff there.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Again, thank you to everybody for watching. We do appreciate it. And until next time, see you later, alligator.
Peace.